So this video is a continuation of last week's Mango Monday, where I turned Disney villains into HAZBIN hotel sinners. And to those who commented and liked my last week's video, thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone's support as per usual. And thank you for all the really nice comments in there as well. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and turn 3 more Disney villains into HAZBIN hotel sinners. So we're going to start this off with Jafar, and from what I remembered, he was the Sultan's advisor or counselor, and he basically masterminded a lot of the decisions that the Sultan made. He was also defeated when he wished to be turned into a genie, as we could see from that scene I just played. And when he wished for this, he didn't realize that genies were prisoners themselves, and he was trapped in his own lamp, later to be thrown away by Aladdin's genie. The thing is, I'm not very sure if Jafar has actually died during that scene, because as far as I'm aware, he looked quite alive to me. He was just entrapped in a lamp. And also I think genies are supposed to be immortal type beings. They have the power and everything, as he said in that scene, but he is entrapped, 1, into a closed space, which is the lamp, and 2, to serve others instead of trying to serve himself, I guess. And I'm going to go into that point a little bit more later on. But again, I'm not really sure how or whether he's passed or not. But for the sake of this video, we will assume that he is. And that's the reason why he's gone to hell, just because I know that some of you will question that a bit later. So my answer for that is, for the sake of this video, sure, he has passed and he's gone to hell. For his character design, I wanted him to look a bit like a serpent, just because he had quite a few serpent-like motifs, like his staff over there, and also earlier in that scene that I just played, he actually did turn into a giant serpent, so I wanted to play into that serpent motif that he had, but keep the genie-like design that he was entrapped with. I also altered his headpiece a little bit more, just so that it fits with the HAZBIN hotel vibes, and added eyes kind of all over his top body parts and bottom body parts. You guys will see that a bit later as well. And the reason why I added this is because it's to symbolize the all-seeing eyes attitude. And the reason why I say that is because he tend to overlook a lot of the things that the king has done in terms of his decision making for the kingdom. So adding the eyes on his design kind of ties down the fact that he was very controlling, very manipulative. He likes to keep an eye on a lot of the things that the king does, and at times as well he likes to act like he's the king himself, and that kind of spiraled out of control when he got a hold of the genie's lamp. For his staff, I do realize that he has a snake-like cobra staff, and I did keep a staff on him, except I did change the design to make it look like the lamp. I thought that it would be quite ironic for him to use his magic to make others' wishes come true instead of his own wishes, which is why I made the decision to alter the design for his staff, and he's kind of holding onto the lamp that he was entrapped with. The lamp he was stuck in was a black lamp, I get that, but because his design is already quite dark and I wanted the lamp to stand out, I did color it a bit different. Side note, I did color it gold a bit later on, and you guys will see that. And I know it's not completely accurate, but I wanted his lamp to stand out, and also it's because his staff is golden, so I wanted to kind of commemorate that in this staff as well. So basically his overall character design resembles how he was as a genie, so that's why you see a lot of reds and blacks in there, and I stuck to that just because that's how I see him going to hell anyway. Speaking of which, I do have a little story in how Jafar got to hell. So assuming that being a genie versus being turned into a genie would have different effects, I would say that Aladdin's blue genie was set free. He still had powers, but he's immortal because he was a genie in the first place. Whilst Jafar, since he was turned into a genie, he won't be immortal, and he kept his human age and lifespan. So he basically died of old age, and he went to hell because he was a power-hungry villain that wanted to enslave and kill people. So I had a lot of people from my last video asking for Maleficent, so she is who I'm going to be drawing next. And to be completely honest with you guys, I did struggle quite a bit with her concept, just because she already somewhat looks like a demon. So my goal in here was to try and make her fit into the world of HAZBIN Hotel a little bit more. So think of this as maybe more of a restructuring rather than a redesigning, just because I did genuinely struggle with her concept a little bit more. You guys will see that I erase a lot of things in here, and outside of this I was doing a bit more research in how I can make her fit into the world a bit more. From the classic Disney film, the prince was actually the one that ended up killing Maleficent with a magic sword. I think he stabbed her right onto her heart and she fell into a cliff full of fire, and that's how she eventually made her doom. And I know that there will be a lot of people in here protesting against Maleficent being a sinner. Why should she be a sinner? Because, you know, in the live action version in both films, she was a good person, she was a good type of fairy. I know, I get it. But do bear in mind that I am basing these character designs off of the classic Disney film. And in that classic Disney film, Maleficent is Maleficent. She is genuinely evil and she wishes harm to others. And I understand that some of you may not be happy with that because of the live action version. I know. I watched the live action too, and I do like Maleficent as well. I like her as a character, as a villain, and I like her version in the live action as well. So I get it. But for the sake of this video, we're only focusing on the Disney classic film, and in there she did a lot of horrible things. Anyways, for her character design, I actually used Morticia Addams from the Addams Family as one of my main inspiration for her outfit and her overall character design. So you guys may see that from how she has this very tight figure hugging dress that kind of flows out at the very end. Sometimes it's called a mermaid dress, so that's what I decided to put on Maleficent's character as well. And if you look very closely at her chest area, you would see that she has kind of like this hole in her heart. And the reason why I did that is to kind of pay homage to that scene where the prince was the one that stabbed her in the heart in the end, ended up killing her, or maybe one of the reasons why she passed. And she also fell, as I said earlier, she fell into a fiery pit down a cliff. And you guys will see in the coloring stage that her face is actually two-toned, so the top half of her face is a different tone to the lower half of her face. Actually, you guys will see that now. And the reason why I did that is to kind of represent sort of the burn marks. She has a greenish skin, and I wanted to kind of exaggerate that a bit more for this particular design, which is why you can see that she's quite green, whilst in the Disney film she's kind of a pastel grayish green. So I did exaggerate that a little bit more, and I thought that for the burn mark, it doesn't make sense for it to be pink like how it would be for human skin. So for her type of skin, I made it slightly kind of dark greenish instead. But yeah, that's Maleficent. And lastly, we have the evil queen from Snow White. And I'm going to spare you guys the whole live action Snow White opinions just because, one, I'm kind of late into the trend anyways, and two, there's already so many reviews, good and bad, for the live action film, so I'm not really going to bother with the live action version at the moment. But in the classic Disney film, the evil queen, I've never known her name, and I still don't know her name, but the evil queen from Snow White, she died by falling into a cliff, and I'm assuming that the boulder that she was trying to use as a bowling ball to squash the dwarves, yes, dwarves. She had this boulder and she was trying to maneuver it to go crush the dwarves, and it ended up backfiring on her and crushed her instead. So it was a very dramatic and very violent death, and I was going to say that it is quite deserving, especially when she was targeting someone purely because she wasn't fairest of all. So that was, I guess, the pure example of jealousy and envy, which is also one of the main reasons why she would go to hell in the first place, because it's a sin. And as you guys saw from that clip that I just played, she does have two versions of herself that she's typically portrayed as. She has the old lady, what was the term for it, peddler lady, that she disguised herself as, and also her regal queen version. And I wanted to include both into this design, kind of like a messed up mixture of what she used to be versus how she turned out to be and how she passed. Because to be fair, she did pass using that disguise anyway, so I would assume that in the lore of HAZBIN Hotel and Hell of a Boss, that she would somehow somewhat look like what she did when she passed. So let's assume that that's actually how it works. So I started off with giving her this really long ruffy hair, and that's to kind of show what her hair was like when she turned into an old lady, which is kind of like this really ruffy white hair. And I wanted to keep that kind of concept in, but kind of exaggerate that a little bit more and make it a lot longer to give that cartoon HAZBIN Hotel vibe onto her. You might also notice that her pupils are a bit different from all the other designs I've had in the past, and instead of having a regular type pupil, she has these crosses, and that's because in cartoon animation industry, having kind of like X's on your eyes kind of resemble death. So I thought that would just be a fun little difference that I would make for her particular character. And I get that technically she did die in a black robe that she wore as an old lady, but I didn't want to do that design. I thought it was quite boring, and that's just going to be a lot of black on her character. So I didn't really like that too much, just because I wanted to do a bit of coloring, and again, I wanted to show her queen side as well. I wanted to have this kind of really messed up mixture of both of them. So you guys will see that I did change the dress. I made it look slightly like her queen dress, but kind of altered it with like the rips and all those kind of things, and put cobwebs and more spiky type shapes all across her design, just to show that, you know, she's not a good person. She is not. She has all of these sharp shapes and sharp features to show that she herself is a sharp and smart woman. And speaking of which, you know what, I think that in hell she'd actually be a successful person, because she herself knows magic somewhat because of her potion making skills, and she has that mirror. I feel like she would have some sort of powers that would resemble that when she goes to hell, or when she goes into the HAZBIN Hotel universe, which is why you could see me put like potion bottles on her hair. I kind of feel like she would be a bit more messy when she's down there, and it's just to kind of exaggerate on that fact as well, that she does use potions. And I would assume that, you know, a lot of people in hell would want her potions, and she would use those mirrors to spy on people. And yeah, that's the evil queen. Well, that's all I have for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed these designs. If you guys have any suggestions on who I should draw next as a HAZBIN Hotel sinner, then please do let me know in the comments down below, and I'll have a look at it for you. And as per usual, thank you so much for everyone's support. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next Mango Monday. Bye!